The first full week of the trading year is coming to a conclusion, and it's been a doozy. Can I use that word, or is that an old-fashioned word? Starting out with CES, we got the Trump truthing, we got jobs data, we got all kinds of stocks moving in all kinds of different sectors. Meta goes nuclear. We got ratings. I mean, these analysts, they took a couple weeks off at the end of the year, but they're working their tail off. And you know what? They're moving some stocks. We're going to follow those stocks for you. We're going to go through the jobs number. We're going to talk crypto with Louis Sykes, Homie Charts. Zero in on what he's looking at here in this range bound crypto market. It's Friday, Brentster. Let's get it going on
The volatility right now is really incredible.
Wow, look at that consolidation on the upper right chart.
You know what we've seen this earnings season? Some of these expected moves get even more violent. This is why I have switched my strategy 10 years ago. And if you're chasing, you're in trouble.
Okay, strong close, little dip overnight. Back at the highs of the pre-market session, 10 and a quarter at 79, 69, 72 and a quarter. Buck hanging out, but on a little bit of a 4-day winning streak, up 13 cents, 98.18. If they're buying $200 billion worth of bonds, they're not buying the TLTs. They're flat 87.36. Crude hanging out. USO at the $70 level. GLD and SLV going in opposite directions. GLD down slightly, SLV up 1%, and Bitcoin hanging out at 90K here. That's down $585 at 90,520. And let you know these charts are brought to you by TradeStation, born to trade, chart, analyze, customize, execute, all in one platform. We're going to be learning a lot more about TradeStation in this upcoming year. Triple D, last week, you were falling asleep on your desk. You were drinking coffee. You were shoveling the driveway. And what a difference a week can make.
Yeah, today we're raining outside, and we have the great melt on here, and Trumpster continues to give us a bazillion headlines to trade. He is just the mover of all movers, the shaker of all shakers. You don't know what he's going to truth next. He wakes up, sits on his toilet, and just starts truthing away. And you just don't know what's going to happen next. And yesterday we had multiple truths once again here. The big one is Brentster. Come on in here because he can come for this conversation as well. We'll say hi and good morning to the Brentster who's on mute.
Good morning.
Brentster, we got this $200 billion worth of mortgages talking about buying here, and it has everything moving this morning. And I mean, like, so many different stocks were moving last night, right on the knee-jerk reaction, which we saw, obviously, when we're trading in the STN. Think tank there. Rocket blasts off. RKT, I'm long Rocket. UWMC blasts off. I'm long UWMC. And then you just saw it just spreading. So give us the headline here once again. If you have the actual truth, I don't know if you do.
Yes, I do.
Let's see it.
Here we go.
So this is what happens. Biden ignored the housing market. Instead, was immersed with high crime, blah, blah, blah with Biden. But let's get to the meat and potatoes, which you can highlight it. It is now worth many times. Obviously, for it has $200 billion. Okay, so I am giving special attention to the housing market because I chose not to sell Fannie and Freddie in my first term, a truly great decision, and against the advice of the experts. It is now worth many times more than that, an absolute fortune, and has $200 billion in cash. Because of this, I am instructing my representatives to buy $200 billion in mortgage bonds. This will drive down mortgage rates, monthly payments down, and make the cost of owning a home more affordable. That's where we are. And the initial knee-jerk reaction is obviously RKT and UWMC, because they do the refinancing. So if rates actually do start going down, mortgage rates go down because of this, it's going to be RKT and UWMC are going to call first. So those two benefit right away. Littler companies like Loan Depot, LDI, littler companies like Eric Jackson's Open Door Technologies, up 9.64%. Alan in our STN think tank gave us OfferPad, which is OPAD. Told us that at 159. The stock's at $1.99 last night. That's why we put all our heads together. We're like, oh man, that's a good one, and that's going too. So many. But then it spread into the home builders, LEN, trading up 2%. You can go to KB Homes trading up 1%. You go to Pulte Homes. It went into Home Depot. It went into Lowe's. It just spread everywhere last night. There was so many stocks moving up. The mortgage REITs were moving up. NLY, AGNC had huge moves last night. A lot of these stocks have come back in. Sherwin-Williams, another one you could think about. A lot of these stocks have come back in from where they were trading last night. But there were so many trades off this last night. GNRC is another one. It also catches an upgrade. But if you think about when you're building a home, and here, let's just stop and educate for a second here. When you're building a home, there's a lot of companies that come into that. Home Depot, Lowe's, all your other home suppliers. Think about shingles with Owen Corning. Think about, the cooling systems, with all those stocks that obviously do cooling, like Carrier and stuff. And then you got to think about, like, they're putting Generacs in new homes. Like I said, I built one. All new homes, not all, but a lot of new homes are getting Generacs. So it's definitely linked to the housing trade as well. So many implications here. Do these pops last? We'll see. I mean, we got some, news here coming today too, with a potential Supreme Court ruling on tariffs, which could derail some of this stuff. But this morning, at least, we're seeing some pretty good pops. Joel, this was one of your picks, RKT. You gave us this. Did you ever buy it yourself?
I never did. No, that's what I do.
I do.
He's so modest. He's giving out good ideas. He doesn't even need.
But you know what? Maybe I could actually take a look at the long-term portfolio and see if I did sneak it in there. But no, I didn't. Nice move. We can illustrate where this took off right here. Boom. There is where the news came out, and you always get the initial spike, like whoa. And the first thing you want to do, what you want to look at is, did that coincide with something else? And you know what? It didn't. The recent high in this has been going back to September, and that was 22.56. That's your level. I'm going to forget the pre-market high. And the other thing I just want to know about where we're trading at is what the reaction was last time. Last time we got up there,
sure.
What was it, man? Was that during the open run? Was that, I can't remember. Is that, let me go back and take a look.
I don't know if that was during the open run or not.
Yeah, it was.
Felt like open was it?
Yeah. Yep. Because this is where see this? And then the RKT, we could go back to the RKT.
Well, that open run was a long time ago, like the initial open run. The initial open run was earlier in the year, so it's back to June. So you'd have to go back to June a little bit further to really see the big run. But if you do see, there's a relationship there. RKT was moving up in there too. So
yes,
you could argue it. They're all tied together. I mean, a lot of these companies are tied together. I think Rocket is best of breed. I'm long Rocket. I've been long Rocket for a while. You sold me on it, Joel. You were talking with us at $14. You sold me on this. I ended up not buying till I think 17. But good stuff. Well,
there's no better news that you could get.
Look what's at the bottom of the screen here. I like this. Look at the Brentster working in the background here. Here's your topics of the day. The Trump on mortgages. We're into that right now. U.S. tariff ruling. Ooh, the Supreme Court coming up. Ooh. Meta charging up with Aqua. I like that too. And then we have a ratings parade because this is ratings week here. Look at the fancy. I like that overlay.
Thanks to Josh behind the scenes and SCN for helping out with this. We have a couple colors we can work with. So chat, let us know what color you like. This little, I kind of went with the subtle gray. We have like a fancier yellow. We have like a little blue. You'll get to see some of the other little color schemes that Josh made for us. Thanks, Josh, again.
Boom. I like that color scheme. The color scheme is good actually too, because I was complaining about the colors when we were testing this out. So that's perfect colors actually. So okay, Joel, talk to me about my Rocket. Because
forget about it.
Forget about it. That's what, Joel. That's like, we don't give advice on the show, but that might be some of the best advice that you've ever given on this show. Forget about it. Long-term investing. That is the best thing you can do if you're a long-term investor. It's a long-term account. Because I just can't help myself. I was talking to CC Legator and the STN think tank yesterday about this, and CC is like, you know what? It's like the trader in because he was a market maker in options, obviously. And it's like, it's hard to break that out of you, like this scalper, we were high frequency traders, obviously, over at Bright Trading for years. It's hard to just separate and say, okay, in this trading account, I'm going to be like in and out, in and out, in and out. But in the long-term investing account, is not going to look at it. Forget about it. That's a hard thing to do. You do it well, Joel. You always have done it well. You know, he can go in there, be like Warren Buffett and forget about it. I'm like, I know I got that in there. I just put it in there. I'm up 30% in a week in ABAV. What do? I probably sell. That's what I do.
Well, you get in some hot rods, man. I mean, you know, stocks like that.
Momentum stocks.
Yeah.
We're into like, where is the party? Like, yeah, for sure. Sometimes
I mean, did you have a target? Dennis, did you have a target when you got in?
No, I don't know. And I've had this conversation here too. People will come in there and say, here's the chart. Here is where I buy it. Here is my stop. And here is my target. That's what you see on Twitter everywhere. I've never traded like that in my life. I've made money every single year of my trading career. It's hard. That's a hard thing. And I'm not a technical trader. I'm a headline trader. I'm a anticipatory trader. Getting ahead of the CES last week. I made huge money getting ahead of the CES last week. Thanks a lot, to obviously Michael and Brentster, who did the research on the companies that we're presenting. But I'm an anticipatory trader. I anticipate where demand is going. I don't derive that from a chart. I'm deriving it from, next week, we're going to preview it here, the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference, which drugs started ripping the last couple of days. You think that's a coincidence? That their drugs start going up? People are front running the JPM Healthcare Conference. This is obvious guy trades. Obvious guy trades are the best trades. Long-term investing is hard from that perspective, though. So that's why I probably struggle with the long-term stuff, where I'm very good at the short-term stuff.
All right. Do we want to start truthing? Or we
that's what we were doing. So you were going to give me RKT, and then we went on the bad tangent.
Okay.
So you said your official advice to me was forget about it, which is probably really good advice. I mean, we think we think interest rates are going to go down. It's one of the stocks in my acronym. We think interest rates are going to go down in the second half because Trump has now officially said that he's picked the Fed chair. We know it's going to be one of the Kevins. Both the Kevins are doves. So interest rates probably are going down in the second half. It's great news for RKT. So you're probably right. The best thing I could do is probably forget about it. Just hold on to it.
I mean, there's going to be pullbacks. I mean, that's what it does. I mean, if you're looking at the daily chart, I mean, let's look at it today, because last time it got up to this area in September, it completely came unraveled. And there was some catalyst about it. They did all those deals or something. I wish I could remember, but if you're looking at it long term, Dennis, go back, see the bump in September, see what the catalyst that took it down in September and October, and reanalyze it. Or is it different this time and it's just going to build a base up here? But you bought it for a fundamental reason. Until that fundamental reason changes, it's still early in the trade. And what are you going to do with the money? Do you have somewhere else you want to put it?
That's a good question too. And yes, I have so many places I want to put the money. Right now I want to go all into drug stocks. Why? Because they're cheap, and we had the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference last week. So there's always some place I want to put the money. So that's never the issue.
But that's a short. I mean, that's trading something long term for like a short term catalyst. So
I love the drugs long term, and I've been buying drugs for the last 6 months. So I said this back in June. I said the drugs are just dirt cheap. I mean, it's a joke. Some of the valuations are a joke. I wish I would have bought more drugs. I went and bought the whole damn index, which was, I always forget this one. I forget which one I bought, but anyway, one of the smaller drug ones. Do you remember which one it was?
Was it IBB?
No, I bought XBI. I've been in XBI for a while. I actually loaded up more XBI yesterday just to get ahead of the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference. But it was one of the not as my widely traded ones. But still got all. They're all the same, you get into but you got to watch XLV. Some of them, IBB is the bigger companies, XBI is the smaller ones. We're talking biotechs there. And then you can just run across the board. But I mean, look at Bristol Myers, look at Merck, look at, a lot of these stocks have really been moving. Obviously, Novo, I have a huge position in Novo, which I think is just ridiculously undervalued. So, there's good long-term investments there. And those are the ones you want to buy them and forget them, because those drug stocks, they do really well long-term. And they've been in a real bear market for a while here now. So I think there is some great opportunities there. Trump truths continued, though. Trump truthing. Intel. He said, and I don't know if you have this truth with you handy. He does. Brentster has it.
Let me pull it up. Incoming.
Let's go.
Cool.
So we got Trump yesterday, right after the bell. Intel explodes higher. And again, more Trump truthing here. We'll read this to you. I just finished a great meeting with the very successful Intel CEO, Lip-Bu Tan. Intel just launched the first sub-2 nanometer CPU processor designed, built, and packaged right here in the USA. The United States government is proud to be a shareholder of Intel and has already made through its USA ownership production tens of billions of dollars for the American people in just 4 months. We made a great deal, and so did Intel. Our country is determined to bring leading-edge chip manufacturing back to America, and that is exactly what is happening, in Intel leading that charge. Never a bad thing when the president of the United States is your cheerleader. Never a bad thing. Obviously, we bought the stock Intel back, when he originally took that position. Sold too soon, as I always do. But the stock chart's starting to look a little bit healthier. We're going to have Joel do the analysis here. It popped 2.7% on the most recent truth.
Let's just look at that high from Wednesday, and let's use that as a short-term target. 44.57, 42.63 is the high, closing high of the move. So 2 levels for you. We got the jobs data coming on at 8:30, so we're going to sneak our guest in here, and it's time to talk some crypto with Louis Sykes of Homie Charts. Good morning, Louis.
Guys, how's it going?
Good from down under. How you doing?
Fantastic. It's summer here in New Zealand, and so getting out there, enjoying the sunshine. It's great.
Yeah, it's 55 degrees here. Dennis, I don't want you to be.
It's 46 here, which is crazy in January. Usually we're like 50 below. I feel like so. What's the temperature there, Louis? What is it?
It's a little bit cooler because I'm literally at the very bottom of the country. Like, I'm in one of the most southern towns in the entire world. There is nothing but ocean separating me and Antarctica. So I'm very, very down south. But I'm in the middle of nowhere, which is great, right? Because I'm in crypto and it's a market that's always moving, it's always on. And so it's just great where I'm just an hour drives away from some of the most beautiful places in the entire world and just completely detached from it all.
Nice. All right, so people say fundamentals for crypto and the utility of crypto. We finally get to a point there where that's something that it's finally mattering.
I think so. And look, I am going to be, not many crypto analysts and crypto traders are going to tell you this, but I'm going to tell you this because it's just the truth. 99% of the crypto market is just worthless. It's going to zero, and it's already began its march to zero. 99% of it is just absolutely worthless. But there is a 1% that is already redefining this next generation of finance and technology, and we're already seeing this play out, right? Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, they've all traded really closely with the stock market, right? With the NASDAQ 100, with technology stocks, but they're all changed in October of 2025. And the reason why that changed was because we saw this big crash in a lot of these crypto tokens. And now I think longer term, this is actually a really positive thing because we're seeing that a lot of this air coming out of the crypto market. We're seeing all these meme coins, all this speculative junk. They've already began their slow bleed to zero beginning in October of last year. But what that's going to enable is it's going to enable the real projects with real fundamentals to really take up the stage, not these silly meme coins and dog coins that have really taken the stage over these last few years.
This is such a great point here, and this is something that I've argued for a long time. I mean, like, what do you use this for? Like, what's the utility? And people will say, well, gold. What's the point of gold? I'm like, well, people wear it. Silver that can actually be used as conductor. There's actually so talk about the utility, like which ones and why. So, obviously there's a lot of like doggy coin or whatever, Dogecoin. I always called it doggy coin. But, talk about the ones with utility here. Like, how are we going to use these different crypto coins?
I am going to share my screen for you guys.
We love this.
I always come prepared with charts every time I come on here.
Well, let's pull this up now. Oh, I love this.
This is what I'm talking about. So back in October of 2025, we saw a sharp decline in the amount of crypto leverage. And this is calculated just by taking the amount of open interest in the perpetual futures market and in the options market within crypto relative to how big that market really is. We saw a whole bunch of speculation earlier on in the year. October, that all changed. A whole bunch of air got completely wiped out. A whole bunch of people got margin called. This is a really positive thing because now all of these meme coins, all of the speculative junk, I believe is already beginning its slow march to zero. And so you ask, what are the areas that I'm focused on heading into 2026? One of them is privacy. This chart here, it's a little bit complex. All you really need to understand is that this blue line trending higher is a sign that people are demanding more privacy. Now, I'm not sure if you guys go on YouTube or Instagram and you always just see these ads for VPNs all over. You know, people just want to shield their internet usage. They just want a little bit more privacy and anonymity on the internet. Now, crypto was one of the leading drivers of privacy and anonymity, but then with Bitcoin, all your transactions are basically advertised to the world. Same with Ethereum, same with Solana. So it's public, it's not private at all. But now more recently in 2025, we've really seen this resurgence, this big demand for privacy in a lot of these technologies. And Zcash is a really good example. It was up close to 1,000% in 2025 just because there's a lot of demand for privacy. And I just want to share you guys one chart that I'm closely monitoring. So this is Zcash. This is the black line. It's up nearly 1,000% last year.
Wow.
But its competitor, Monero, ticker symbol XMR. Look at it. This thing looks stunning. This is a base going back to 2018. And you know what this looks like? This looks exactly like silver, just on a tightened time frame before it broke out. Tell me I'm crazy.
I mean, JC Peretz, I was at obviously his, and I met you at JC's meeting there and back in the summertime. And he's like, you showed a chart like this. I believe it was you that showed it. And then JC's like, we've been buying this chart for years. This is a JC Peretz chart right here. You would love this chart. I love this chart too. When you come up, and we always say no such thing as a triple top. And that looks like it's just rearing and to break out here to me. Some people say, oh, that's major resistance, and it is. But man, if it breaks out of there, that chart looks fantastic.
Exactly. I think that this one has got double written all over it if it breaks out of this major base. And I say it's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek. It's me being cheeky. The regulators hate it. And the reason why is because this particular cryptocurrency gets delisted from a whole bunch of exchanges because it's basically the same as Bitcoin, but the only difference is that if you're sending money on Monero, it's completely private. Nobody can track it down. So it's a haven for criminals. But I don't really care about any of that because you have a look at the chart and it looks beautiful. This thing just looks poised to break out.
Monero.
Let's talk about some of the other key sectors of the crypto market in the upcoming year. Tokenization.
Yeah, tokenization is a major one. Even Larry Fink, CEO of BlackRock, he even said in an interview just a few weeks ago that it's going to have a bigger impact on the global economy than artificial intelligence. These are some of the comments that are coming out. And what's happening is you're starting to see a whole bunch of institutions finally moving and settling real money on crypto networks. And you might say, Louis, this is just a story. It's just a narrative. It's not actually happening in the world. It's just headlines. But let me give you one headline. There is one network that is already processing $6 trillion for financial institutions every single month in the form of overnight repos. And there was a repo transaction that settled on a Saturday for the first time ever just a few months ago. JP Morgan has launched its very first money market fund on chain using the Ethereum blockchain. And so it makes sense, right? There's one of the biggest decentralized finance, one of the biggest crypto protocols in the entire market, Maple Finance. The CEO said that DeFi is dead. But the reason why DeFi is dead is just because in a few years, we're not even going to differentiate between decentralized finance and traditional finance because they're basically blending and they're merging into each other. And so a lot of institutions are finally moving their systems on chain where they can settle these transactions. And so again, just coming back to what I said before, I think 99% of this market is just absolutely worthless. I've got a chart of right here. That'll be a little bit later, but 90% of these cryptocurrencies are absolutely worthless. But the 1% that are enabling tokenization to happen, that are moving stable coins, and stable coins are another big area that I'm focused on, that are enabling privacy for people to move money in a independent way. This is the 1% that's really differentiating itself from the other 99% that's already began its slow bleed to zero.
Okay, so we got all this crypto, we got all this mining, right? You need power. You need high performance computing, right? For all of this, for the mining, for the AI. Talk about how that figures into your thesis for 2026.
Yeah, so 2025, there was a really interesting situation where the Bitcoin mining stocks, because there's a whole bunch of Bitcoin miners, but the ones that outperformed the greatest were the ones that had the foresight to pivot away from solely Bitcoin mining, which in itself is a very precarious business model. And the market rewarded those that managed to diversify away from that and into artificial intelligence, because these computing rigs that these Bitcoin miners have established, they've got major specialty in these high power computing units that is perfect for artificial intelligence. So the market really rewarded those companies that managed to pivot to artificial intelligence. I think the key story now moving into 2026 is the market is going to begin differentiating those that have funded and financed that pivot in a responsible way to those that haven't. So the companies that have taken on a whole bunch of debt to finance that pivot away from Bitcoin mining and into artificial intelligence, probably not going to be rewarded as much as companies that are selling their Bitcoin and de-risking to fund this transition. A good example is Riot. Riot was one of these classic Bitcoin miners, but more recently, they just sold a whole bunch of Bitcoin to fund basically an entire year worth of transition into artificial intelligence. And so these guys haven't taken on any new debt for this. They've just sold 3 months worth of Bitcoin that they've mined to fund this transition. So I think the market is going to really reward these companies that are financing this pivot into artificial intelligence responsibly.
Awesome. We're going to get the jobs data here in 2 minutes, but we want to continue this conversation here with you, Louis. So we're going to break in over top of you with that, but we want to continue this conversation here because this is interesting, how you have to actually think about these miners, and they've got, and again, all businesses in every industry always need to be slowly reinventing themselves. I mean, if you don't do that, you end up like JCPenney or Sears or all these companies that just didn't, so innovation is the key, especially in technology. And I mean, what else are you looking at there? Talk to us a little bit further on that conversation.
Yeah, so I just want to understand the ones that have got the foresight to pivot into something that is a more scalable industry, right? Because Bitcoin mining in itself is a pretty terrible business model. The margins are so tight, but then you have artificial intelligence where the margins are just, they can scale infinitely. And so the ones that have managed to pivot into artificial intelligence, I'm closely watching. When it comes to crypto itself, there's a few key industries and themes that I'm watching. Stablecoins, tokenization, privacy. These are all really big areas that I want to be paying attention to heading into 2026.
You gave us a pretty good opinion on MicroStrategy. And the last time we were on, and just wanted to see, just kind of hanging out. We know there's a difference between the Bitcoin and the Bitcoin charts here. Any change with your outlook on MicroStrategy?
I've actually got a chart here of MicroStrategy. I know the job numbers are coming in. I know you guys like to pay attention, so I'll make this quick.
Yeah, we'll just break over top of you.
Yeah, this thing is absolutely terrible. It's a failing capital structure. I think it's never going to ever outperform Bitcoin again. I think it's going to continually underperform over time. It's going to become a very boring stock as time goes on. But with that said, it's really extended to the downside. We've got new lows in price, but higher lows in momentum. I think this thing is really beaten up, and it's really due for a nice corrective rally to the upside.
Yeah, well, that's one thing to think about too. Has it come down to NAV? Is it getting close to that price where you had predicted correctly that Bitcoin and that MSTR would come down to its Bitcoin holdings, and it was trading with a premium for a longest time? Is it getting close to that level?
Yeah, it's essentially trading at net asset value today.
Okay, so it's already come down there. So that was a great call by you as well. Non-farm payrolls, we've got on the screen here right now, 66,000 private payrolls, 37,000 versus 50 versus 66, 37 versus 66. A little bit light here. That has given a little bit of lift to the S&P here. Not as much as you'd think. We popped and then we kind of are giving a little bit of it back here, but a little bit of a light number here, which probably still continues to pave the way for the Fed to start thinking more about rate cuts. I do not believe they're going in January. I think Powell's going to make a little bit of a stand here. But I think in the second half, like I've said, I think interest rates are going significantly lower, and that's good for a lot of industries here. Let's ask you the question here. What do interest rates do for the crypto community here? Like lower interest rates, you'd think this would help crypto as well, does it not, Louis?
Yeah, absolutely. Because look, these things, at the end of the day, they're just a further extension down the risk curve. And so any move in interest rates that is going to help speculative growth, that's going to help tech stocks, is going to help is going to help crypto alongside that.
And I want one more question on that front too. Is this crypto speculative sell-off that you started talking about in October kind of premeditated a lot of the speculation coming out of these speculative stocks as well? Like, I mean, we were looking at Aqua at $180. I know it has a deal today, so it's moving up higher, but it moved down to $70. I mean, there was just a lot of companies that really had huge moves throughout 2025. They kind of topped in October and then sold off. Even Palantir went from $210 down to $150. Do you think, like I've argued there's a correlation there? Do you think like all these, crypto, you could call some of this crypto crap, does that like have the place here too, where it's leading sometimes some of the stock market?
Yeah, absolutely. These things are really speculative. So stuff like meme coins, speculative random cryptocurrencies that nobody uses, these things are absolute junk. But sometimes there are brief periods where you actually want to own the junk. That's the best performers. I think moving forward, we're going to see less of that moving forward. I think any rally, if we see a big rally in meme coins, for instance, then I think it's going to be short-lived. It's not necessarily something I want to bet the farm on. It's certainly not something that I want to bet on for the long term. I see that there's, just going through the comments, there's a lot of people talking about XRP. It's like, Louis, how are you on the show not talking about Ripple? What are your thoughts about Ripple? I think that one is absolutely part of the 99% that is just absolute junk. This thing is just
wow, you just made some enemies.
Worthless.
I love a bold call. So you would not be backing up your three favorite cryptocurrencies, your three favorite ones. Obviously, Bitcoin's in there. Give us your three favorites.
Cantor Network is certainly up there. This one is really leading the entire tokenization space. The DTCC is an entity that moved nearly $4 quadrillion of assets in 2024. They're currently exclusively using the Cantor Network to begin their tokenization of their custodied assets. I think this one is the most slept on name in the entire market, and this thing is just going to absolutely have an incredible year.
What's the symbol on that?
CC.
Awesome.
That's relatively new. Yeah.
All right. Louis Sykes, homie charts coming to us from way down under. Louis, just incredible insight. Well put together discussion presentation. We're very lucky to have you on a guest on Pre-Market Prep, and we'll be dialing you up again in a couple of weeks. Thanks, Louis.
Thanks, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thanks so much, Louis. Appreciate everything.
Okay. All right. We did get a pop here.
Yes, we did.
Very, very quick. Got up to 69.86. It didn't quite hit the high for the week, but nice pop, a little pullback here. I don't know if we want to review those numbers here, but this has not been a big mover, right? It is just not, the number has just not a big mover as late, but momentum was strong going into the number, and momentum continues to be strong.
The only thing I wanted to add, like review wise, is the unemployment rate for December did come down. I think 0.2%. I think it was at 4.6%. This reading for December was 4.4%. That was a little lower than expected versus the 4.5% estimate. Unemployment rate itself, like that data point itself, has been surprising the last few months, kind of like the last half of 2025. Just something to note here, I think.
Looking
Right.
at TLT, you can always look at that. A little bit of a lift. IWM is a lot more sensitive to this data. So, we look at the S&P and we see it insulated, obviously, from mega cap, which doesn't move as much, but IWM has moved up here. So we are seeing a rally here. We're up 0.55% on the IWM, some of the small stuff moving here as well. Small caps had a great year. I mean, the January effect, leaders, laggards, leaders, the classic January effect is the small caps outperform. And that's totally what we've seen here in early 2026 is small cap outperforming. So going back to our topics list at the bottom, this keeps me in check here. I like
Me
this.
too. Me too.
They're all talking in the chat. They want to know about the Supreme Court ruling. We talked about this yesterday. It was a reason that I said I'm worried about this defense stock rally and that I'd be taking profits into it. I did on my AVAV, but NOC probably dictates this the best. So what we have today, for those who don't know what we're talking about, Supreme Court is ruling on whether or not Trump's tariffs are legal and whether they're potentially going to have to repay. If they rule against, there's the potential that Trump may have to repay the over $200 billion that they've collected in tariff revenue.
Could rule.
Could rule.
Could rule. Absolute emphasis here is could rule. It is on the docket for today, but when the Supreme Court gets to what it wants to get to, there is a chance that it's on the docket today and they never get to it. Dennis, you said we know that they are meeting at 10 a.m. I don't know if we know how long they meet for. I think this is kind of an all-day thing.
I think so too.
And Dennis, you had some good commentary. Can we share some of that commentary from?
One of my friends, case law lawyer Ken. If you're listening, thanks so much because he was commenting as well. I said, what are your thoughts here ahead of the Supreme Court ruling here? So just to clarify, they're meeting at 10, and they may, in all likelihood, I think they will give us a decision on the tariffs today, but they don't have to. So, and again, when the meeting starts at 10, it doesn't mean that decision is imminent. They're going to give it right at 10 o'clock.
Sure.
So I think a lot of people are confusing the meeting time with the decision time. It may come right away. Maybe it comes right at 10, but it doesn't have to.
We don't know.
They're meeting at 10. That's what we know. And they're going to be talking about this.
Yeah.
Commentary from my friend Ken. He's saying that remember this, let me just go find it. 5 out of 6 members are pro-Trump because Trump has put some of these in place. So that you'd think naturally, well, then he's going to rule for Trump. But PreMarket's got 80% that they're going to rule against Trump. And the comment here from Ken, although 6 members of the Supreme Court are pro-Trump, it's 6 of them. I don't know how even 5 of the 6 could twist contort the intent and plain language of the IEEPA to reverse the lower court. Because remember, the lower court has already ruled on this. So the Supreme Court has to go and overrule it and turn it. That's not typical. They don't typically just come in and overrule and change the ruling here. They can, but in all likelihood, they won't. Now, was it Besant that was already commenting on this, Brenster? He's already got a contingency plan going?
Yesterday, he said basically there's other things we can do. I'm butchering the comment from Besant, but effectively he said there's other things we can do if the Supreme Court rules against us.
There's no other place to appeal to. You're at the Supreme Court. But that doesn't mean they don't have other methods. So let's just say, hypothetically, they rule against Trump today. The knee-jerk reaction is going to be defense stocks are going to go down because the $500 billion in increase to defense budget that Trump proposed yesterday is coming from tariff revenue. He said that directly. So if you don't have that tariff revenue, you're probably not going to get approval on this $500 billion defense budget increase. So automatically, you think those defense stocks are going to go down. That's the knee-jerk reaction. But what Besant commenting here is they're going to find other ways. So don't kid yourself. Trump is not going down without a fight here. So even if the Supreme Court rules against him, I would expect, the market to give the knee-jerk reaction where we think about defense stocks down. We think about major importers like, Lululemon. You've got Nike, the other companies that, obviously are bringing in, stuff from Asia. They're making, more majority of the clothes there. Deere is another one. Deere CFO was at CES. He said he expects tariffs to impact the company twice as hard in 2026 as they did in 2025. Deere rallied significantly yesterday. I think that's not a coincidence. I think there was people front running this trade in the afternoon. That's why you saw the defense contractors like NOC give back the majority of their gains. Lockheed Martin gave back half of its gains. And then you saw stocks like Deere explode. People are speculating that PreMarket is correct and that they're actually going to rule against Trump. Now, with Besant saying that, though, I think Trump's not going to go down without a fight, and they're going to find another way. So if they find another way, that means some of these dips could be short-lived. So my thoughts is I kind of like the idea of buying the a knee-jerk algo dip on stocks like Lockheed Martin, AVAV, which I sold yesterday. I'd like to get back into it. But I'm kind of speculating that we will get an algo dip on that headline if it breaks. And I'd be using that dip maybe to buy some of these stocks, because let's just, lay it all out too. He's changed the name from Department of Defense to Department of War. He's talking about going and buying Greenland now, but you can just see, tensions are rising here. There's more of a war trade on. The war trade has been on. It's not my opinion, folks. It's the market's opinion. You've seen huge moves. Lockheed Martin was up, yesterday at the highs, up over 10% this year. The year is only 4 days in. Stocks like ABAB, we've been talking about going from 250 to 350. This is not just, a January effect trade. This is a war trade. This is like escalations and geopolitical risk. Countries, Denmark saying if the U.S. enters Greenland, they're going to shoot first and ask questions later. All of this stuff paints the picture to be long war stocks right now. So I don't think that narrative changes, but I do think that you could get a knee-jerk reaction down in some of this. So I'm just setting up the trade idea. Knee-jerk reaction down with some of these defense names, I think would actually be a buy, because I don't believe that Trump is going to be paying back these tariffs. They could even rule this way. My friend Ken's saying they could rule, but not make them pay it back. So there's also that possibility as well. Yep. There's a lot. It's not just black and white here. It's going to be about reading it and understanding what the ruling is. And we're not even guaranteed that it comes today.
I just want to look at the XRT, because the retail is going to move off this. You got to look at your stocks that are, impacted. You mentioned the Lululemon, a few other stocks that, have shown material impact. I mean, Children's Place. I mean, this thing absolutely has got annihilated. They came out, they talked about, the tariff impact doubling. So there's a stock that's rebounded from the $4 level. Overall, XRT retail's been looking good here, trading at the highs and move. That was a real big move in the XRT yesterday. So keep an eye on your retailers here that could have an impact. But once again, it's like, this is not it. This is still going to be going on. There's still, as Dennis mentioned, it's a never-ending battle here. So, but certainly there'll be a reaction in the market, and all the reaction so far to everything has been pretty positive. So, wouldn't get too negative on this.
Brent, you have another truth on Trumpster just talking about the tariff here, or what is this about?
Yeah. He's saying basically numbers released today show that the U.S. has the lowest trade deficit since 2009 and going even lower. He basically, he's just expressing his disgust that the Supreme Court would be against this. I hope the Supreme Court is aware of these historic country-saving achievements prior to the issuance of their most important ever decision.
Everybody's watching this closely. So they have a contingency plan, I guarantee you, already in place. The execs behind are expecting the loss, and they're probably ready for it. So, I think the knee-jerk reaction, if they lose, if they win, you're going to see the opposite move in all these. Like Joel's talking about Children's Place, some of these smaller retail names that have really been impacted hard. I mean, PLCE gapped down on the quarter. It's such a great stock because we didn't mention this one. Let's bring it up there on the chart again. It gapped down from $7 to $5. They blamed tariffs for the entire quarter. They said, because what we thought when they were putting in tariffs is I really thought a lot of these companies were going to just pass the cost forward. A lot of these companies are trying to absorb it. So they're like not able to raise prices as much as they would like. So they're actually trying to absorb it. And that's where you're seeing stocks like PLCE get hammered. So when there's $200 billion, it doesn't just come out of thin air. It's coming from somewhere. And it's actually coming mostly from U.S. companies because those are the ones paying it. So if they're still bringing the product, they got to pay the tariffs. So you're seeing companies like Deere, companies like Place that had lower earnings because of this. So those are the stocks that will move higher in a knee-jerk reaction if they rule against Trump. If they rule for Trump, the opposite effect's going to happen. You're going to see stocks like Children's Place, Lululemon gap down on this. So Deere gap down on this. But right now, PreMarket, do we have the PreMarket percentages? Can you go grab that in the background, maybe, Brentster?
I can look in the background.
Updated. It's changing all the time. It was 80% yesterday.
I'll check. Look at the question here from Boris Dennis. how could it be that the Supreme Court may rule against the tariffs but not order the administration to pay them back? What is the basis of this idea? It's a great question.
It was my friend the lawyer saying that's these are possibilities. So it's like so everybody thinks it's just black and white. If they rule against, you have to repay. There's other possibilities. So it's going to be in the language of the decision. So we don't necessarily know exactly what's going to be said. So he was just laying up that's probably not the case. I don't know. Nobody knows what the decision is going to be. We only are speculating here. So this is all speculative. We don't have a crystal ball. But we can go to PreMarket and say that, right now, the odds are, and they've been pretty accurate on a lot of things, that, 4 out of 5 people are betting the ruling against. The lower courts have already ruled against Trump. So what you have to have at the Supreme Court level is enough evidence to overturn the lower court ruling. That's, a hard thing to do, what I just said. So Supreme Court, there it is. There's a 25%, it's up to 25% chance that they rule in favor. So it's set down to 75. So it's tracking a little bit lower here over the course of the last couple of days. So right now, it's, not a coin flip at all. It's 75% to rule against, 25% for. So what we are doing is setting you up. So everybody gets, opinionated and say, oh, Dennis is saying this, Dennis is saying that. We're laying out scenario analysis. As a trader, you should be doing this exercise all the time. This is what you should be doing. Scenario analysis. If this happens, this is the trade. If this happens, this is the trade. That's what we're trying to lay out for you guys. So, and girls. So if Lockheed Martin, it was rallying huge yesterday. That's why we were worried about it popping up, because I'm like, well, they have this ruling. You rule against, it could end up giving it back. I think the defense contractors are the most sensitive to this. It wouldn't have been that case a week ago. But with the $500 billion proposed budget being financed by tariffs, according to Trump, now they're directly impacted by this ruling. If they rule for Trump, you're going to see Lockheed Martin explode. If they rule against Trump, then you're going to see Lockheed Martin probably dip. But again, they're going to be coming out. Trump's going to say, we've got others, there's got a contingency plan in place. Don't kid yourself. They're not idiots. So I think a dip probably is more of a buying opportunity on these stocks.
Interesting bars here. I'll just say on this Lockheed Martin, you did, you closed lower than the open. So there's been some selling into strength here, no doubt. No doubt you've seen some selling into strength. Wild move that you had in on Wednesday, and then Thursday makes the new all-time high and pulls back. For right now, keeping an eye, I'm just on the all-time closing high at 522.04. But you have seen some selling into strength here. I don't know if that's the same for AV. Yeah, that took some profits yesterday in it. So, boy, the day just gets more exciting. Starts at 10, but once again, keep an eye on your news wires for that information.
Okay. I need my overlay on there again. I don't know where I'm going. I'm like dependent on this guy.
Oh, no. You've been conditioned in one day.
Quick preview JPM Healthcare Conference. Let's do a quick preview. JPM Health. Oh, no, Meta charging up. We didn't do the Meta charging up.
You like take your pick. Dealer's choice, and you're the dealer.
Meta charging up. So Meta, and Brentster, do you have this headline?
I have 2 headlines. Yeah, let me pull them up. You want to start with Aqua, or you want to start with Vistra?
Aqua.
Okay, Aqua pulling up right now.
Up 17%. It has leaked off those highs, but this is a huge deal because you know what? Aqua didn't really have any deals before this, so this is a huge deal for them.
StreamYard doesn't like when I do that for some reason. I got to figure that out. So Aqua Meta announced in support of 1.2 gigawatts nuclear energy development in Southern Ohio. I don't believe you guys and gals know I always like to look for the terms of the deal, and I'm kind of just scrolling through really quickly here. There isn't terms as far as I see here, but they are giving, the capacity here, 1.2 gigawatt power campus in Pike County, Ohio. Aqua shares, I actually haven't had a chance to look at them today. Aqua shares trading up a good 15, 16, 17 bucks on this.
Big pop. Joel, bring the chart back up because we are off the highs just slightly because I did see it off 20% here. But here's a stock that's very much benefiting from the January effect as well. Stock was $180 in October, down to like $75 at the end of the year. This has been straight up since the turn of the calendar. So, you're up 30 now, you're up 40 points. Stock's up 50% since, 4 days, 5 trading days this year, which is unbelievable here. It's a big pop. We've come a long ways though now. So I think I'd be at a point here.
Yeah.
Maybe it continues. I mean, there's opening. Aqua is a wild child, you know, like it moves. So, you know, I'm not coming out and advocating, oh, this is just one of those rips to sell. There's the momentum's in its favor for sure now. But I never buy a stock that's up 18%. I always think I can get a better deal.
I like this one. I like what the indications that that this news that broke this morning, and you got the initial spike here to 121.08. And the reason I like that area is because back in November, you had 3 highs. Those 3 highs became are right near that 120 area. Let me pull this up to get your exact number. Your 3 highs between 120.95 and 123.44 for 3 days in a row before you had another leg, major leg down. Does that mean this area is going to put it, the pre-market highs already in? Not necessarily, but what you like to see in these kind of scenarios, when you get the news, when you get the initial pop, is are we going to get back up there? Or when the liquidity comes into the market, are there going to be buyers? Are there going to be big buyers to go 115 bid, 116 bid, 118 bid? So a lot of this you like to see using, the pre-market. We've seen things where they just, boom, get bid and blow right through it. But once you back off from that level, it does, some people say, well, maybe I shouldn't have bought that at 118. If it gets back to 118, I'm going to scratch it. So also you've had just an incredible run in there. This stock ended the year at 71.76. So there you go. There's the run up, and we'll see how when the true liquidity comes in, the big boys come in at 9:30 a.m., which we'll be covering in the STN room.
You have B of A upgrading SMR to neutral. It's moving up 12%. NNE up 11% here. The other one's Vistra, VST up 17%. CEG up 7% here. We're seeing huge moves across the board in all these names. Even small little NKLR is starting to show some life. It's up 9% as well. So big moves. Vistra did announce, you've got on the screen, the Brentster all over the news here, announce an agreement to support nuclear plants in PJM, add a new nuclear generation to the grid. That's for Vistra and Meta as well. So not only does Aqua get a deal, Vistra does as well. And VST has been in the gutter. This stock has had a really tough 3 months. This is a move, a counter move that's trying to bring it back a bit.
I just want to mention the old cross here with the 200 and the 50 that comes in right this 172, 175 area. You're trading above it right now. So after a couple rough days, you don't need cooling, right? You don't need cooling anymore for those chips. Got hit on the news, but now trying to regain that death cross here in VST.
Okay, going back, JP Morgan Healthcare Conference. Do we have a graphic here for this now?
Yes, we do. Let me pull it up.
Nice, we're unveiling. Michael putting together and killing it on these graphics for us here. So this is the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference for next week. We saw the CES very much get front run. We are starting to see that happen already with the JPM Healthcare Conference next week. I expect there to be a number of mergers potentially announced next week as well, because Adam Fierstein saying this is where a lot of deals get talked about or actually done, is because all these major companies are coming together here. So JP Morgan Healthcare Conference, here's your graphic. I will tweet it out after, so
cool.
If you don't see it, I will tweet this out after for you as well. But you can say Bristol Myers kicking it off at 10:30, Pfizer,
yep.
They've got Medtronic, Gilead, Tempest AI there, Viking Therapeutics, talking here as well. Amgen, this is great stuff. Tuesday's Teva, GEHC, Jazz Pharmaceutical, Vera, VERA. We got a
Lilly.
Tuesday keynote.
Lilly at 5:15 on Tuesday, also Eli Lilly.
Continuing on Wednesday, AbbVie, NMND. Thursday, Clover Health. I took a position in Clover ahead of this, just bought it yesterday, CLOV. VCYT, and then for obviously we're just a little bit other stuff to talk about on the right side is Jamie Dimon actually is giving a keynote as well, which he might talk the banking industry to a certain extent too. So don't leave the banks out of the equation here. They can move on this stuff as well. But this is another this is the CES of healthcare here. This is where the major stuff gets done. I've also got a list of stocks of potential M&A targets here, which we're going to be talking about on Stock Trader Network in the think tank here. I mean, that's a hard thing to do, but there's a lot of companies that are going to be on my radar. I'll probably do my XBI trade pretty heavily into the weekend, expecting one, excitement going into the weekend for this, but two, maybe get some deals. And that's a way to get exposure to over 100 small cap biotech companies here. So I like the idea of XBI long into the weekend as well.
Want to just give a couple key themes here that Michael laid out for us for the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference: artificial intelligence in drug discovery, gene editing breakthroughs, personalized medicine, digital health integration, which is interesting, healthcare funding landscape, and patent cliff challenges. So if there's any themes in there that intrigue you, know that they will probably be discussed at the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference next week, all week next week. Very heavy on Monday and Tuesday, and kind of tapering off Wednesday and Thursday. So I think some of these trades will be kind of at the beginning of the week, but just a nice little heads up there, folks. All right, can I go back to the overlay? Let's see what's next.
Yeah, ratings.
Ratings land.
So we got a new segment, rating the ratings. And we've got some interesting ones here this morning. There's a lot of ratings. It's a big ratings week, so we got to pick and choose here. So we're kind of looking at, what's really moving, stocks that are like standouts here. We could start with FedEx. Okay. FedEx, actually, this is, a stock that has come back tremendously here. The value trade we've been talking about since October is back in vogue. FedEx, definitely a value stock, went from 220 now up to 309. I feel like this is a little late to the party here, though. So if I'm rating B of A, I'm going to give them a C- here because they're way too late for this upgrade here. Stock just ran up, from 220 to 320 or 313 here. So stocks, I don't know what that math is, up over 30% in the last 2 months. And now you're upgrading it, a little late to the party. I've got commentary from the note here, though. We're upgrading our rating on FedEx shares to buy from neutral, holding our 17 times target multiple on 2027 estimates. Our EPS estimates 1855 is above the 1840. FedEx is one of our top transport picks for 2026. So it's a valuation play. Why didn't you give me this back when the stock sucked?
Exactly.
Like on October. So way late to the party here. I'm downgrading my C- to a D+. Do not like this rating here at all. It actually scares me when analysts start getting involved here. So B of A, way too late to the party.
I have to agree. I mean, I'm going all the way back to the monthlies here to get you data, and you did have a brief look at this area. Let's just call right where it's trading right now, 314, 313.84 was your July of 2024 high, and it came unraveled after that. So if you're going with this rating, you're going raw market, you want to see follow through right off the open to the upside. If you got other objectives up there closer to 320, but kind of feel with Dennis on this one a little bit late to the party, maybe selling the strength on this one.
I have a position in this one, GNRC, and I bought it last night because of the whole housing trade moving up here. But Barrett is upgrading GNRC. I'm not going to rate them because I have the position, and this was a day trade for me, so I will be selling it here. But, GNRC moving up here. I can comment from the note, though. So they are upgrading from neutral to outperform, raising the price target, actually lowering the price target down to $199. It was $215. Analyst comments, GNRC has a variety of unique catalysts ahead with the C&I diesel genset opportunity. No idea what that is. Reduction of the residential clean energy, cyclical green shots, combined with weak trading action, reasonable valuation levels 10 to 15 times 2022. March Analyst Day and muted sentiment, we see compelling risk reward emerging beyond the fourth Q print and are upgrading to outperform. I kind of like this and thought about adding this to the long-term account. I did not do it here, but I do have it in the trading account.
No man's land is exactly where you're at here in GNRC. Just had a brutal move down from under 170 into the 130 handle. You're getting about half of that move back. I see the 50-day coming in here, 152.58. But really hard to identify resistance. Next daily resistance level would come in at your December 17th high, 156.45. But came down hard through this area, and just not a lot of levels to say, hey, there's a target. Let's get out. Let's sell. If you have a 156.45 target, as I said, that was your high on December 17th.
So summing up today's show, basically off the hop. You know, we talked about the mortgage stocks and them moving up significantly on the potential $200 billion investment into mortgages, which Trump has instructed his representatives to do. We also obviously have the big decision on tariffs, we believe coming after 10 a.m., although we don't know the exact time of that ruling. And obviously, it's some of those defense stocks, retailers are going to be impacted here. And, you know, and then we have the JP Morgan Healthcare Conference next week. So I'd expect, you know, drugs to start showing some life ahead of that.
Okay. All right. Brentster, thanks for keeping us organized here today. We have a special announcement for you guys coming on Monday. So we are looking forward to announcing a new sponsor of Pre-Market Prep. Way to cover everything today, folks. Have a good weekend. Be safe and be